Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Optimus Dynasty Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, Mike Vidal, with Cam White, and today we're going to be looking into the rookie running back class of 2026. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Optimus Football Dynasty podcast, and I'm here with Cam White to talk about the 2026 rookie running back class. We're 2 days away from the NFL draft. Cam has written dozens of rookie running back write-ups, and we're here to talk to him about those players. Cam, first of all, what are your thoughts on the overall strength and depth of this running back class?
Yeah, I think when we're looking at this running back class, obviously Jeremiyah Love is the 101 or 102 in most rookie drafts this summer. And then after that, it's a little bit of a pick your poison leading up to this draft. The talent starts to fall off a little bit. There's a lot of guys that maybe in 1 to 2 years could lead a backfield, probably going to start out as committee options. Guys that I'm more comfortable taking in like the 110 to like 204 range of your rookie drafts. So the talent's pretty good. There's some good pass catchers in this class that are going to be great for PPR. A couple thumpers that are going to be able to get you those short yardage, grind on third down kind of guys. But really, it's going to be landing spot dependent for all the running backs outside of Love, which I don't think we said that last year or the year prior. There's always been a few top prospects that you could see them immediately leading a backfield, but there's a lot of talent in the NFL. And it's going to take some time for these rookies to kind of cut out a piece of the offenses they land on. We're probably going to see them doing like 20 to 30% of the offensive snaps to start the year. And then come injuries, maybe they're jumping into that like 60% snap range.
Absolutely. And just a little bit of dynasty strategy here as we're looking into our rookie draft starting probably shortly after the NFL draft for a lot of you guys. Well, I want to talk about two different types of teams that you might have going in and how you might treat this running back class depending on that. So let's say if you are a team that is like very running back needy, maybe you really don't have anybody, you kind of went zero RB last year and ended up with kind of a lot of Sean Tuckers or Zach Charbonnets or some of these players that aren't probably going to help you at least at the beginning of this year coming up. Obviously, if you can get yourself a Jeremiyah Love, I'm totally into that. But it's important to remember in your rookie drafts that you don't have to fix your roster by the end of a rookie draft. If you're looking at some running backs that are not in that top tier, which we're really kind of putting Jeremiyah Love alone there, you don't want to be passing on elite prospects like a Carnell Tate or a Mekhi Lemon to go up and grab these running backs. If you really think you're set at these other positions, you can try to trade back in draft and give somebody else a shot at those high-end wide receivers and get more than just that running back. So you definitely want to do that. Now, if you're a contender and all you're missing is that running back spot, I think that's where we fully encourage you to try to go after Jeremiyah Love. Try to get that 101 pick if you can. If not, hopefully, again, if you're a contender, you're drafting towards the end of that rookie draft, you can look for, your Emmett Johnson, your Jonah Coleman. People kind of have different rankings there past Love, but that's where if you're at the end of your first round, you can take a swing at one of those top 3, top 4 running backs that, you might have any one of those 3 at number 2 there. And I'm okay with it there, but I really would encourage going after those top wide receiver prospects. Even if you're running back needy, you don't have to dive into that. So before we go on, we're going to talk about some of our favorite top 10 running backs in the class. But before we do that, I want to hear from Smokey about our brand new Optimus tools.
Hi, I'm Smokey Hell Nelson. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Optimus Fantasy? Lord over your leagues with the Savior Fantasy tools at OptimusFantasy.com. Don't believe me? Check this.
Mo leagues, no problem. Optimus has you covered with league management tools for any league size on any provider with built-in trade analyzers.
A little blasphemous, maybe, but I mean, hell's my middle name. And I'll be damned if these aren't the best tools on the market, so get your ass to OptimusFantasy.com.
Yes, so take it from Smokey, go get onto those Optimus tools, and you can use, what is our promo code? Remind me, Cam, what's our promo code for the Optimus tools right now?
So you can use rookies right now, and that'll give you 1 week for free to go in, test out all the different tools. You can use that promo code for any of the available subscription tiers. So I would obviously recommend using the gold jacket so that you get full access to everything for a week. Go in, play around. There's a lot of good content in there. We're pulling in some of the rankings work that Lou's done and all of the projections work that's going on the back end. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But go ahead, use the code rookies, ROOKIES, and that'll be able to get you in for 1 week for free.
Thank you. Yes. And let us know what you guys think of the tools. If there's anything different that you guys want to see, we're still in there and trying to make edits, trying to make it as positive of an experience for the users as possible. So please get in there. Let us know. You can shoot me a DM on Blue Sky or Cam. We've also got Nate Polvo. Lou is on there. You can hop in our Discord as well. We've got a Discord that should be hopping come draft time. We're going to be posting all of the NFL draft picks, pick by pick on there. And yeah, so just let us know. Come talk to us. We want to hear from you guys about what you want to hear on the show, about what you want from our tools, and just how we can help you win your leagues here at Optimus. So yeah, please come talk to us. We really appreciate it. And we need it. We need you guys. We love you guys. Thank you. So getting into our top 10 rookie running backs of the 2026 class, let's talk a little bit about the consensus number one running back, Jeremiyah Love. Out of Notre Dame, Love is that top blue chip prospect that everybody agrees is the number one pick. He's the number one pick in rookie drafts at all positions in all formats. This is the one guy that is going to provide for you that weekly floor, instant usage, that rare player. Talk to me a little bit more about Jeremiyah Love's skill set, Cam.
Yeah, so Jeremiyah Love is electric with the ball in his hands. He's a home run hitter for you. Works really well behind the offensive line, reading the defense, setting up his cutback lanes, manipulating the second level of a defense and making sure that he can gash you for 4, 5, 6 yards. He's got one of the better jump cuts out of this entire rookie class. If you go and watch what he was doing at the combine, running the drills, it's really like night and day. He's able to transition honestly 6-7 feet on one of those jump cuts from one side of the lane to the other. So he's extremely explosive. I had the pleasure of going to a Notre Dame game this offseason and watching him work against Navy, which not one of the best defenses in the country, but all of this was on display. Short yardage, being able to be near the goal line and punching one in behind the offensive line. If there are no rushing lanes, he's able to get creative. He has a nice spin move where if it looks like everything's kind of plugged up, he can hit a spin off of the offensive line, change directions, and scoot out the other side. He has fantastic hands, easily in the top tier of pass catchers. And I would probably put him number one overall as the pass catching backs in this class. So when you're looking at Jeremiyah Love, he's a running back that you can immediately plug and play on your roster. Would take him 101, would take him 102. He's a guy that you want to trade up for if you really need another running back on your team. If you don't need a running back, you should still be taking Love because he's one of the top talents in this class. Now, when we think about Jeremiyah Love as a prospect relative to Ashton Genty or Bijan Robinson, I think he's falling in that same tier, honestly. I would have him right around the same level as Genty. I know Genty had a lot of hype coming out. Some mixed results in his first season, but you have to remember that offense was really bad and there weren't a lot of opportunities for him. Love is probably going to go in the top part of this draft. So ahead of the draft, we're looking at Tennessee's been mocked for Love. Arizona is one of the potential landing spots that popped up this week. The Giants are another potential contender. And like, even if he falls to Cincinnati, like there's a few teams that we're going to be really excited about Jeremiyah Love on, specifically the Giants and Arizona and Cincinnati. If he goes to Tennessee, I think the offensive line is coming along a little bit better, but they have another ball carrier there in Tony Pollard that I feel like they're comfortable not taking Love at that range and addressing some of their other needs. But the Giants are serious contenders for him there with Scadabo's injury, and really not having much else there and being like one piece away on the offensive side of the ball from having a really dangerous, explosive offense. So ahead of this NFL draft, Gentry's probably going to be a top 10 pick. I think that's all, it's in the cards for him. We're all projecting it, and he's easily the top talent in this class. You're going to want to draft Genty and trade for him if you have the capital to do so.
Yes, I love Jeremiyah Love to the Giants. That's kind of where I've been feeling he can go. I don't love Scadaboo so much to think that would dissuade them from taking Jeremiyah Love. It would take a lot of pressure off of Jackson Dart as well. So I'm loving Love to the Giants. I also think Tennessee should support Cam Ward by drafting like a Cardinal Tate or a Mekhi Lemon at 4. I think that would be a really nice pick for them. And wouldn't we all be lucky as fantasy managers to see 3 out of the first 5 picks be skill position players? That would be fun. We'd like that. All right. So we're kind of going through my rankings right now, and you can go on to the Optimist website to look at Cam's rankings. Mine will be up there soon. But at number 2, I've got Emmett Johnson. Cam, do you agree with me there?
He's my number 2 running back as well. Emmett Johnson flashes a ton of ability to manipulate defenders at the second level. He also has a nice series of jump cuts to evade defenders. He sets guys up when he's in the lane behind the offensive line. Looks like a running back that doesn't really rely on his speed. And I know people are a little low on his 40 time, but like, he's not winning because he's fast. He's winning because he's thinking the game a level ahead of the defenders. Something similar something that he shares in common with Kaytron Allen is like this micro movements where he's able to manipulate and contort his body at the last second to evade defenders. He had the highest missed tackles, or he had the most missed tackles of all college running backs last season. And you could look at that as potentially a negative because he's in a lot of opportunities to get hit, but he's still evading these tackles, which is kind of what we want to bet on at the next level. That was one of the things that Bucky Irving was really great at in college, and on his way to the NFL draft, they're kind of similar sizes, clocking in around that like 190, 200 pound range. And then we've seen how Bucky Irving's done at the next level. So I really like Emmett Johnson. He's got great hands, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And for me, easily my RB2 in this class. I think that he is going to be a little bit less landing spot dependent versus some of these other running backs because he does have a 3-down skill set.
Definitely. Yeah, I love Emmett Johnson's wiggle. And I think that's kind of really what puts him at the top for me, is that he just really has that so many different ways to get out of being tackled. Even when things look really rough in the backfield, he seems to be able to kind of squirt out of there somehow. And those players do seem to translate to the NFL. I really like that. All right. Up next at number 3.
His wiggle too,
sorry,
Mike.
go ahead.
Yeah, he had a similar 10-yard split to Damon Claiborne, who ran in the 4.3s. So it's like, it's not that Emmett Johnson is slow. He's got fantastic bursts. It's just that he didn't really have the long speed. But a running back, you're going to get hit within the first 6 to 10 yards anyways. So like, the long speed is great. He'll still be able to rip off runs for 20 to 30 yards. Maybe he just can't break like an 80-yard touchdown.
Right. And it's rare the players that are able to do that. We only had a few of those long touchdowns in last year's NFL season. So yeah, definitely not something that's going to be a deal breaker for NFL teams or for me in my rankings. Up next, I'm a little bit controversial here at number 3. I've got Nick Singleton out of Penn State. I've kind of gone on the chopping block before to go out and say, like, I really like to commit to like prior hype. I really think that Nick Singleton was one of these guys that people were ranking at the top of the top. He's got that track speed and he's got really underrated power. And I even saw that in this most recent season, even against some of the toughest competition, playing against teams like Georgia and Alabama. I feel like I'm watching him fall forward when he gets hit. And obviously, he can really break some big plays with that speed as well. And I don't hate his hands either. I think he can become a pass catching threat at the NFL level as well. So I'm really liking Nick Singleton as kind of an underrated player coming into this draft, especially missing the combine with that broken foot. I'm sure you would have loved to see him at the Senior Bowl, but obviously, that was not going to be an option for him coming into this year. So, yeah, how do you feel about Nick Singleton?
Correction, he was at the Senior Bowl.
Oh, he was.
He got hurt at the very end of the Senior Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he didn't play in the game. I think he got hurt like the last day of practice with that foot injury. But he looked good at the Senior Bowl. He made some incredible catches during scrimmages. So Singleton looked good, and I'm there with you on the hype for Singleton.
Cool. Yes. Excellent. All right. And then up next, we've got Claiborne, kind of a speedster out of Wake Forest with some really good pass catching ability. Yeah, I love Claiborne. He's got some really fun, electric, explosive plays on the tape. And yeah, it's really, we talked about this earlier. Between all of these backs in this top 10, they're all really close in talent. I don't see him like leaps and bounds behind Singleton or ahead of the guys that I've got him ahead of. I'm kind of I like him just barely above these guys. He was able to handle a pretty good workload, and I like him as a pass catcher, and I think he can really make a difference at the NFL level with that. So yeah, Claiborne, just like him, just a little bit more than our next guy, Jadarian Price, who you're going to talk about here.
Yeah, Jadarian Price, Jeremiah Love's backup. We've heard some chatter of like, is he the Roschon Johnson to Bijan Robinson, where he was beating up on NFL or on college defenses after Love had kind of tired them out and they were worn down. I don't use that as a negative against him. He still went out there and chunked up these opposing defenses. When we saw him at the combine, he looked like the second best back in the different drills. Good elusiveness, runs with good power, good pad level, is probably going to be more of like an inside zone runner, maybe use him in some gap schemes. That's one of the things that one of our friends over at FTN, Herms, him and I were chatting this week about this running back class, trying to figure out, what schemes are these guys going to fit into? And we were having a conversation on Jadarian Price, and we feel like, he could run outside zone. He doesn't have like elite speed, but he's got great speed. He's a guy that I think can do it all at the next level. We didn't get to see any pass catching from him at Notre Dame because Love is just prolific in that sense. But Price was fine on these like dump offs and like swing passes. I just don't think that he's going to be out there running anything more complex than that when he first gets into the league. But if you need a guy that can go out there, not give you negative plays. So if he's going to get hit in the backfield, he's not going to try to run back further and evade these tackles. He'll get what's blocked for him, can spring runs for 5 yards at a time, but he's just a very safe running back in this class. And he's got the hype coming out where I think a team, and we're hearing it as these mock drafts ramp up, and we're only, 2 days away as of recording this from the NFL draft. I think he's going to go in probably that like 3rd to 4th round range. And we're going to be buying into Price. He's going to be one of these top 10 running backs we're drafting. And I have him in my second tier of running backs for this 2026 class.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting with Price that Notre Dame was, they were going into this season thinking they're contending for the college football championship. And they have arguably the best player in the nation in Jeremiah Love. And they were not afraid to put Jadarian Price out there. I think that's really worth considering when we're looking at Price's profile, that this team had the best running back in college football. And they still were putting Price on the field in big moments at the goal line, inside the 10-yard line. Even when they're behind in games, Price is getting looks, not just to give Jeremiah Love a breather. They really, truly liked him as a change of pace, and they trusted him on the field in big moments. I think that is definitely something that's worth noting. Up next, we've got Mike Washington at number 6, the ultra-athletic, supersized running back. Nate here at Optimist has got Washington, I think, at number 2 in his ranking. So again, you're seeing that variance in running back ranking. And that's, again, where, like we were talking about earlier, if you're at the end of your first round in a rookie draft, that's where, like, I don't really have a problem if you take a stab at any of these guys. And in our mock drafts every Monday at 1:30, just quick plug, on our mock draft Mondays, we're seeing different running backs go at the end of that first round every week. Like, some weeks it's Jadarian Price, some weeks it's Mike Washington, some weeks it's Emmett Johnson. I took Claiborne at the 201 last week as well. So you're really going to see a lot of variance, which may be a sign to just move back in your draft if you really want to grab one of these guys. And if you're kind of not seeing a big difference between one or the other, move back, get an extra pick, get a prospective player, a younger, like 22, 23-year-old NFL player that's, a veteran. We're calling these guys veterans now. But yeah, so anyways, talk to me, Cam, about Mike Washington.
Yeah, ahead of the Senior Bowl, Mike Washington was one of the guys I scouted a ton. Kaelon Green from Arkansas also attended the Senior Bowl, so I got to watch a lot of Arkansas tape. I mostly chose to watch games against Notre Dame as well, so watching Notre Dame versus Arkansas was one where I could hit 4 different players. And watched that a few times back just to make sure I was covering it from every angle. And Mike Washington is one of these running backs that is very patient behind the offensive line. He stays close to his blockers, not giving the defense any tips or getting any advantages of how he's going to be able to manipulate them as soon as he's going to cut and explode through a hole. He's a big back, 230 pounds, 6'2". When he was standing next to Nate at the Senior Bowl, you could tell this is like a mountain of a man, and he is just absolutely jacked. He was the fastest running back clocked at the Senior Bowl. I think he hit like 21 miles per hour there. And then we saw that speed show up at the combine as well. Wasn't asked to do a ton of pass catching over in Arkansas. I think they had Kaelon Green kind of like evading and exploding out of the pocket, scrambling from extra yards when he needed to rather than checking down. But Mike Washington's a former converted wide receiver in high school. He was a wideout. One of our friends, Ryan Parrish, that writes for one of the Steelers, I believe it is the Steel Curtain. He had an interview with Mike Washington, and during their interview, he had mentioned that like he had bricks for hands and he needed to really work on his pass catching. And when he came to the Senior Bowl, he really showed out. He was hauling in passes over his head, away from his frame, looked good in the one-on-one drills versus the linebackers where they're trying to cover Washington out of the backfield. So, we're looking at a guy that you're blending size and speed and some pass catching ability. He also has really long arms. I think he checked in with like 33-inch arms. So a guy that eventually is going to potentially be a good blocker. Looks like a 3-down back. A few of the things that I'm a little worried about for Mike Washington is just like he doesn't have fantastic vision, and he doesn't, for being 233 pounds, he's not like always laying the hammer on guys, but there's plenty of times on tape where he's lowering his shoulder and he's pushing through guys and being able to bully them off. I would like to see him use his arm span a little bit better, fighting guys off with stiff arms, more Derrick Henry-esque in that nature. But I think he's got the skill set to do it. He's had some top 30 meetings with Atlanta and Green Bay as well as Tampa Bay. And I think it's interesting. Atlanta and Tampa Bay are in the same division, so I'm very curious if they were bringing him for top 30 so that they could get some extra intel on him, where maybe, I could see him going to Tampa Bay where they need a bigger back. They've got some small backs in the backfield there. And then obviously Atlanta has a hole behind Bijan Robinson that they need to fill. And I could see Mike Washington easily filling that hole, and he'd probably be one of the most electric backups in that offense, running behind a good offensive line. So we're hoping that he gets a chance on an NFL team where he's going to be a day one starter. I don't think that's going to be the case with Mike Washington. I think he's going to have to earn it somewhere. But he's definitely solidified himself inside the top 10 for me. And for me, I have him as my RB3 in this class, just behind Emmett Johnson.
Nice. Yeah. And with most of these running backs in this class, we're not really looking at day one starter ability here. A lot of these guys are going to need an injury or to really come in and just blow the socks off of a coaching staff to be able to work their way into a starting role or a major role in their first year. But I think we're looking at this class as having some really good depth of talent where all of these guys can eventually find a role, maybe not a full-time role, but you can find these guys having like a Nyheim Hines role for some of these players, or having like a James White role where they weren't on the field 100% of the time, but they're still giving you fantasy football production. And Mike Washington, between, like you were mentioning, his ability to catch the football and just his just amazing top end speed for a guy his size, definitely a guy that's worth taking a shot on here. Especially, I would love that Falcons landing spot to kind of be able to give Bijan Robinson a nice breather. I think that would be a really great spot for Mike Washington. Up next, we've got my favorite player in this rookie running back class. I just fell in love with him the first time I watched him. I think part of that is just kind of looking back on the past couple of years. I was a big Kamani Vidal fan, being, similar name. I call him my brother. I watched Jamari Taylor, and I just look at him, and he looks like Kamani Vidal to me. He's got really nice contact balance. He's got enough speed to get to that second level. And yeah, he just kind of plays like with a nice low center of gravity and is able to kind of bounce off defenders and get extra yards and take a nice angle after contact. I really like where, he meets contact, and he kind of knows where is the open spot on the field, and he takes a really good angle after that first contact. So big fan of that. How do you feel about Jamari Taylor this year, Cam?
Yeah, I think Jamari Taylor is a really good runner of the football. He has a good story as well. He's one of these guys that did not get a offer to go play on a college program. So he went over to an FCS school as a walk-on, worked his way up the depth chart. And then the last 2 years, I think, it was a North Carolina team, and I'm blanking on which one it was. But essentially a team in North Carolina. And then prior to last year, he had another phenomenal season. He caught like 40 something balls, 1,000 yards, and then moved over to Virginia this year and just lit it up. Virginia's offense was not great this year, and teams are really expecting Jamari Taylor to carry the load. So they were stacking the boxes on him. I think he is a great zone runner. Like I said, he's able to manipulate the defense, choose the correct holes, really lowers his pads, and runs with great contact balance. He's able to stalemate a linebacker and a safety in the hole and then continue running for extra yards after the fact. Some of this is like he's got great breakaway speed because of that. You think you have him wrapped up, and then he's able to just power through you and continue going. So that like second level play strength is something that we really look for. That's something that Ashton Genty displayed coming out of Boise State. And I think like you want to invest in these guys that have that ability, because they're going to be able to break off these big runs that win you fantasy weeks. Now, when we're talking about his hands, I think Jamari Taylor is a great pass catching back. 40 plus catches in the past 2 seasons. And when we saw him at the Senior Bowl, he was making catches over his head, was pulling in a lot of really tough balls covered by a good linebacker group at the Senior Bowl. There was one specifically that I remember coming over the left sideline where he had to look up into the sun to catch it, and caught it with like the proper underhand over the shoulder technique that we want to see when the ball was out ahead of him. And it was just a really tough catch for him to make. Jamari's family was in attendance at the Senior Bowl, rooting for him during every single practice. And I just love to see a guy that's really supported by his network. I think he's a really nice guy. When we interviewed him, he was one of our favorite interviews. Was talking about the energy that was at the Senior Bowl, trying to make sure that all of the guys around him were prepared and were bringing that energy with him. So he's one of my favorite running backs in this class. When I first watched him, I reached out to Mike and I was like, Jamari Taylor's a guy, like you've got to watch his highlights. And I hope that continues to show up at the next level for him, because I think he's got a chance to, probably again, going to be a guy in a committee to start. But I think if he has a few good games, kind of like in a Chase Brown sort of way, he can work himself into a starting role.
Yeah, I still love that Kamani Fidel from last year. That's kind of exactly how it happened, right? Omarion Hampton
Yep.
went down, Najee Harris went down, and Kamani Fidel, like he won me a fantasy league because I needed to get into the playoffs, and I picked him up for like a 2 week stretch where he scored like 25 points 2 weeks in a row, and it was huge for me. I could see Jamari Taylor being a player like that, where when he gets on the field, if he gets into one of those scenarios, I really think he could shine at the NFL level. He had a nice like 15 or 20 yard run in the Senior Bowl, which we've talked about those Senior Bowls. A lot of these, kind of all-star events, the defenses are typically a little stronger than the offenses a lot of the time. And so that's impressive to be able to put on a nice run against them. And then one more thing about Jamari Taylor, if you follow in his Instagram stories, he's got some cute puppies on there. I don't know if it'll still be on there by the time this episode drops, but there were some cute puppies on his Instagram story today on Tuesday. So hopefully he's got some more puppy pictures for us all. Go check out Jamari Taylor's Instagram. Up next, we've got Robert Henry Jr. from UTSA. He had a pretty, I was expecting a little bit better than a 4.52 40-yard dash, but that's still a very acceptable time. He's got a nice low center of gravity, and he can catch passes. So I do like Robert Henry Jr. Definitely one from one of those smaller schools that's worth checking out. He's got a nice kind of he's got a grit to him. You kind of see him taunting a little bit when he scores touchdowns. That he doesn't really he's not afraid to make contact, but I do think he does a good job of getting out of bounds when the tackle's like imminent. He's not going to force extra contact, and especially with a smaller frame, that's a good thing. You want to see running backs that are kind of reasonable. They're not afraid to make contact. He's willing to try to break tackles when there's an opportunity, but when he sees two defenders closing in on him on the sidelines, he's already got the first down. He's smart with the ball and gets out of bounds. It doesn't take unnecessary contact, which as a running back, they're already taking such a beating. That's nice to see. So yeah, pass catching upside, good speed, good grit to him, and plays hard. I really like Robert Henry Jr. How do you feel about that, Cam?
I also like Robert Henry Jr. I think I saw the same exact things you're calling out from his tape. If you want to really get a sense of who he can be at the next level, go watch that Texas A&M tape where I think he ran for like 150 yards in that game, and just like really made that strong D1 program pay for it. Runs with good pad level. I really like his ability to like not lose yards, like not have negative plays. And that's something that I think a lot of NFL teams are looking for, is like, who's the guy that when the play is completely stuffed is like going to get us a yard or get us 2 yards or like not lose any yards. And I think Robert Henry Jr. does a good job of that.
Absolutely. Now let's quickly take us through our last two of the top 10 here, Cam. We've got Kaytron Allen and Jonah Coleman. How do you feel about these prospects?
So Kaytron Allen, I actually like him more than Nick Singleton. So I think that's one of the areas that, you and I differ. I think Kaytron Allen is just a pure runner of the football. If you watch his tape against Indiana, which had just an absolutely dominant defensive line, and you compare Singleton to Kaytron Allen and what they were able to do in that game, Allen's just really running against this tough front and fighting for extra yards, being able to manipulate them.
For sure.
Very smart runner.
Mm-hmm.
And his 40 time, I don't think he ran one, but like he's not fast, but what he is really smart. He's going to get you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards on every play. Occasionally he's going to rip one for 8 to 15. Looks good in pass protection. When we were watching him at the Senior Bowl, there weren't many plays where the linebackers were beating him in pass pro. I think he's got like really good balance, doesn't strike too far out in front of his body, is alert, is aware of where the potential rush could be coming from before he bounces out of the backfield for dump offs. Kaytron Allen, to me, just is like a more well-rounded running back, does not have hands. And that's like where like Singleton really complemented Allen's game and how they were able to use like essentially a 50-50 split for all 4 years they were in that backfield together. Does not have hands, something that he's going to need to work on. So like probably is going to be in a committee again. Good goal line back, tough finding the end zone. And that's kind of like, that's how I view Kaytron Allen. If he lands in a situation where he can be a lead back, like I'm very interested because he is such a good runner. But if he lands in a situation where he's in a committee backfield, I'll probably drop him a little bit in my rankings. Which brings us to rounding out Mike's top 10, Jonah Coleman of Washington. I got to see a lot of Jonah Coleman living out here in Seattle, and he had top 30 visits with Denver, Minnesota, and Seattle, which I'm a little curious because I feel like his skill set really overlaps well with what Zach Charbonnet does. They're both good blockers. They can both catch the ball out of the backfield. They're both bigger backs. I think Jonah Coleman is probably going to be best in a zone scheme where he can use some of his bursts to get out of the backfield quickly. I think if you use him in a gap scheme where you're like waiting for these blocks to set up and you're pulling guys, he's not excessively fast. I bet, he's probably like in the back end of the 4.5s if I had to guess. But coming into this college season, he played at I think 135, 140 pounds in the 2024 year. And he cut weight and talked about it in the interviews I watched where he dropped 5 to 10
235 or 2.
Did I say 1?
Yeah, 200. That'd be like me out there.
240. If he was, we would not even be talking about him if he was 1.
You don't want to be giving me an outside zone. That's for sure.
But I really like Jonah Coleman. He can make guys miss in short areas. He's got enough speed to get to the outside and take the ball up the sideline. Good play strength. He's able to run through defenders. That offensive line at UW was really bad, and the quarterback did him no favors in extending drives. So I think he could have had a much bigger year if that offensive line was better and they were able to keep drives alive. Coleman is definitely one of the guys I'm interested in for this draft. If he goes to Seattle and has a chance to, lead that backfield at the start of the year, maybe he's able to make this a 50-50 split with Charbonnet when he comes back. And I wouldn't be surprised by that. I think he's got a lot of good skills. He's a good blocker. He's my RB5 in my rookie rankings right now. And I feel pretty confident taking him in that same range we're talking. It's like the end of the first round. You're a contender. You want to take the running back that's going to be able to put up some points for you this year. He's one of those guys, and I probably wouldn't take him any later than the 208. If he falls past 208, I think you're immediately trading up to get him.
Yeah, we've seen
anywhere
him
in the back half of
the
that second round.
107 before, but yeah, we see him kind of fluctuating. All these running backs are kind of all over the place right now. Definitely. Sorry, was there more you wanted to say on Jonah Coleman? And I see you've got a comp there.
Yeah, my last thing is I got a Najee Harris comp for Coleman, where I think he's a really smart runner. He's built, he can handle a 250 plus touch workload. So yeah, that's all I got. I will wrap it up there.
I felt like Najee was a little more talented coming out of college. I'm going more like a Latavius Murray, which is still there were moments where you wanted Latavius Murray in your lineup in fantasy. And I that's kind of, he's got this kind of big frame, and he's got the ability to fall forward, just enough speed to break those 10 or 15 yard runs. And I do think he can be reliable in the same way as Latavius Murray if he finds a good role. And I think that Seattle landing spot whichever running back ends up there is going to skyrocket to probably a top 3 or 4 running back in rookie drafts, no matter who it is. So definitely keep an eye out for that Seattle landing spot. Really quickly, because we've been spending a lot of time on these top 10 guys, let's do a quick game of this or that, Cam. So real quick, first one off the bat, we're talking about Jonah Coleman. Who do you like more, Jonah Coleman or Damon Claiborne?
I'm a Claiborne guy. I think he's a Devon A-Chain archetype, where he's explosive, runs with good pad level, can run it up the middle, can run it to the outside, great hands. So for me, I want Claiborne because I think he has that explosive upside. And Coleman, if he ends in a situation where he's got another bad offensive line, not as interested. But if Claiborne has a bad offensive line, I think he's got the explosiveness to still pop.
Yeah, he's kind of got that alternate route to production. I like that. Yep. Okay, next, Jadarian Price or Mike Washington?
Mike Washington for me. I like Price, but I just think that Washington's profile is a little bit cleaner coming out. He's got more size and more speed. I think Price might be a little bit better in like the ball carrier vision department than Washington is. But you're gonna probably have Mike Washington schemed up for looks that you're going to take advantage of his speed. So I like Washington there.
Yeah, I guess I'm just down on the Mike Washington. I guess part of it is just the like kind of late breakout age for Mike Washington. I'm kind of
Yeah.
repeating what I hear a lot of other people say there, but I just liked Jadarian Price playing in a lot of competitive games for more of a contending team. Mike Washington kind of bounced around, and we know he's got that extreme athleticism, but I haven't really seen him put it to use on the football field consistently. If he can do that, I think he has a higher ceiling than Jadarian Price for sure. But I'm on the Price side probably for that one. And then this one I know we're going to disagree on, but quick, tell me, who do you like better out of the Penn State running backs, Nick Singleton or Kaytron Allen?
Obviously, we had to talk about both of these guys. I like Kaytron Allen. I think his skill set translates very easily to the NFL. Uh, he's a pure rusher. You're giving him the ball and he's chunking out 4 or 5 yards for you. Whereas Singleton, I feel like he's not as good of a decision maker. Doesn't really push through contact. He's 220 pounds and he is fast. So like, I think he has the ability to run through contact, but we just don't see it on the tape. So I'm Allen, but give me your case for Singleton over Allen.
Yeah, I guess I just am seeing it a little bit differently with Singleton because I really, in the games I've watched, I do see Nick Singleton falling forward through contact. I guess I don't see him breaking a ton of tackles, like good tackles. He can break through arm tackles pretty well. But I don't know. I guess I'd have to go back. I got to chart this stuff because I do feel like I'm seeing Nick Singleton fall forward when he gets hit. So maybe I'm just a little bit wrong on there, but I think I'm kind of similar to your Claiborne versus Coleman take. I just think that if both of these players hit their ceiling, you're going to want Nick Singleton over Kaytron Allen. Both are good players. Both have a real path to fantasy football production. But yeah, I'm just on the Nick Singleton side on that one. Before we wrap up the top 10, Cam, anything else you want to say about these players?
No, I think we covered them pretty thoroughly. Really excited to see where Jamari Taylor lands. I just am a Taylor guy. I know you're a Taylor guy. I think we have a little bit of a Taylor guy following over on Blue Sky as well. And I'm excited about him. Some of my favorite analysts are also excited about Jamari Taylor. So feeling pretty good with my pre-draft rankings on Jamari.
Yeah. I'm loving this top 10 that we've got here. Now, one player I think that you have in outside of my top 10 is Jamal Haynes. Do you want to mention him or should we save that for later when we go through the next guys?
Let's save it.
Okay.
And let's
Cool.
just continue working through here.
So there's a teaser for you. We're going to talk about Jamal Haynes soon. But real quick, I still want to plug one of our articles over here at Optimus Fantasy. I read this article last week and really loved it. It's by Lou Brunson. It's the Guts series. And his Guts model is the gravitational universal theory of shifts. And it kind of takes you through like player careers. And let's say like if we picked like Julio Jones and what kind of arc did his career have? Kind of starting from their rookie season, their early years, going through their veteran years, and then kind of how these players tend to fall off, whether the elite tier players maybe have that kind of a few years past the 30-year-old mark, and then some of the next like really good players and they maybe tend to drop off just a little sooner if they're not in that like kind of Hall of Famer status. It's a really great article and there's more coming from Lou. So go over to the Optimus Fantasy Football website and check out that article. Really loved it. And Lou is also using this Guts model to fuel a lot of the projections that we have and a lot of the tools that we have on the tools website for Optimus. So again, go check that out with promo code rookies. You can go and read about how that projections model and how our tools are kind of fed, what we're feeding into that stuff. And Lou is just another guy. Like go out and talk to him on Blue Sky, talk to him in the Discord. He's got a lot of good stuff to say. He's a really seasoned fantasy football player, and he always he's good at what's the word? Kind of like kind of filtering things down in terms of we see so much news coming at us through especially this time of year, because it's kind of there's nothing else to do. There's no real news. So we're just everything's news now. And Lou is good at kind of just taking everything with a grain of salt, bringing you back to kind of like, all right, what is the goal here? Winning fantasy football games and not getting overexcited over one player or another. So go out, talk to Lou, talk to me, talk to Cam. We'd love to hear from you on Blue Sky, on the Discord, in the comments here on YouTube, or wherever you're watching us. Yeah, again, thank you all for your support. I don't know what resport is. All right, we're going to fly through the back end of these running backs here. So at 11, I've got Adam Randall. We'll come out of Clemson. We'll come back and talk about some of these guys we want to spotlight. But 11, I've got Adam Randall out of Clemson. At 12 was one of your favorites, Jaydn out of Oklahoma. 13, we've got Jamarian Miller from Alabama, who I really like. 14, we've got Seth McGowan out of Kentucky. 15, Le'Veon Moss out of Texas A&M. 16, Eli Heidenreich. He's a really fun player. Go check him out of Navy, kind of playing a multi-positional role there. Roman Hemby at number 17. Your guy, Jamal Haynes, I've got him at 18, so we're going to have to duke it out on that one. Kaelon Black out of Indiana, coming off that championship run. Desmond Reed at number 20. Noah Whittington, 21. Tyrion Stewart, 22. Rasul Faizan, number 23. Dean Connors out of Houston, number 24. And TJ Harden out of SMU is my 25th running back in the class. These are guys at the end here that, I mean, you don't take them in your rookie draft. Wait until after and maybe pick them out of free agents if you have a really deep league. All right. Out of these guys, we're going to just spotlight a few of our favorites, starting with Jaydn. Cam, I know you've been kind of one of the very first people planting their flag on Jaydn. Talk to me about him.
Yeah, this is one of the guys that was a late add to the Senior Bowl. Our buddy Herms put us on to Jaydn. Coming out of Cal, playing with Fernando Mendoza, looked like he was ready to just break out and be one of the top rookie running backs when he had finally announced for the draft. But he had an injury at the end of his 2024 season, transferred to Oklahoma. And it seems like he just never was right. Didn't get a lot of playing time, didn't see a lot of touches in this last year. So if you just look at his 2025 stats and the 2025 tape, I think you're going to be like, I don't understand why you'd be into this guy, but go turn on the tape from Cal. He's a 3-down running back with a pass catching skill set. I think he caught like 30 to 40 balls in his first couple of years there. Nose for the end zone. He's really great at running in between the tackles. You can use him on some like wide zone concepts as well. At the Senior Bowl, Mike, you talked about this earlier, where the defenses are usually a little bit ahead of the offenses and the talent was there. The defensive line talent at the Senior Bowl was a lot better than the offensive line talent. So the run games really looked bad. Like these running backs didn't look great during scrimmages. But Jaydn is one of the guys that was popping consistently through the scrimmages. He was getting 4 or 5 yards on plays, finding open space. Looks good in pass protection. All of the drills we got to see in pass pro, he was definitely the top tier amongst the Senior Bowl pass protection guys. And then the Senior Bowl game, it's on national television. You can go watch it. He breaks off some big runs, gets into the end zone. He ran with the first team offense out there with Garrett Nussmeier. So he's one of the guys that I'm going to be targeting. If you can get him in the 3rd round, I would pull the trigger there. But in a lot of these drafts, he's under the radar right now, and you might be able to snatch him up out of free agencies after your draft, throw him on the taxi squad. He did have top 30 meetings with the Bengals and the Chargers. If he ends up on the Chargers, I'm a little worried. They've got a lot of running backs there that I really like. But if he goes to the Bengals, I mean, I think him and Chase Brown aren't too different as far as their skill set. And Brown's going to be potentially moving on to another team in the future. So Jaydn, really, I wanted to land somewhere where there's an opportunity for him to beat out the lead back, or whoever's the running back there is not on a long-term contract yet.
Right. And with the Chargers they've already got Omarion Hampton's going to be back from that foot injury. We're going to have Kamani Vidal is still there. I don't know if they're bringing Najee Harris back, but they also just signed Keaton Mitchell. So that is a crowded room. And if you see a running back drafted to a team like that, think of that as a statement on who they have in house already. That might be like a concern for the players that are already there. I'm not saying necessarily that's going to happen with the Chargers, but just a good thing to keep in mind. Just kind of trying to think on that next level here. All right, so yes, I agree with you here. I've got Jaydn on at number 12, so we're not too far away on that one. The next guy I want to focus in on, we just haven't talked about Seth McGowan that much, and I really like him. He's a very tough runner. He makes pretty smart decisions when he hits the hole. I really feel like he's a similar player to Kaytron Allen. He's got that toughness. He can break some tackles and push piles. Talk to me about why should I be looking at Kaytron Allen as a different back from Seth McGowan?
Yeah, Seth McGowan has some difficulty reading his running lanes. So I think Kaytron Allen just really beats him in like this ball carrier vision department. I like Seth McGowan a lot. He was one of my favorite guys when we were getting ready to go to the Senior Bowl. He runs with a lot of like animation in his routes, or in his runs. He's really setting up defenders. He has a nice stutter and go. Can lower his shoulder and run through guys. He's a big running back, and I actually liked his pass catching chops over at Kentucky. He looked good catching the ball out of the backfield. The reason that I'm a little bit lower on Seth McGowan is we just didn't really see it at the Senior Bowl. The first 2 days of practice, he didn't really pop. Looked like below average, but maybe that was a factor of like the defensive line just consistently winning. Come day 3, he actually had a really nice catch on the sideline for a touchdown from Sawyer Robertson, and started to put some things together on day 3. So could have been a case of just like, you don't always pop every single day of practice. He had some problems with pass protection. He was getting bowled over and thrown off by the linebackers when they were in one-on-one drills against trying to protect the quarterback. So he's a little bit lower for me, but I do agree they're similar archetypes. I think he's got better hands than Kaytron Allen. So that's like the one area that I do think he bests Allen.
Cool. All right, now we're going to move on to Jamal Haynes, and this is where we've got a big disagreement. I believe Jamal Haynes is inside of your top 10. Am I right, Cam? Or very close?
He's just barely. He's number 10 right now.
Okay, and I've got him at number 18. And so, when I watch Jamal Haynes, I got to admit, like, he's a fun and exciting player, and he looks good. Like, he looks good out there. He kind of bounces off tackles. He's got some really good wiggle and shiftiness. What concerns me are 2 things. Number one, his size. Now, that's kind of a cliche thing, but he's only 5'6", 195 pounds. That is not very big, friends. Yeah, we don't see a lot of guys under 5'8" in the NFL. So that's one thing that makes me a little bit concerned. I mean, at 5'6", I'm genuinely starting to worry about, like, can you see over the line? Can you see what's going on out there? And then number 2 was just his production in his most recent year was really not very exciting. I was looking at his just this 2025 season, and he only had a few games over 10 carries, and that makes me a little bit concerned, especially with only, I mean, I guess this is pretty good for a running back, but he's really only getting about like 10 to 20 yards receiving in those games as well. So the usage definitely has me a little bit concerned. But when you go back to 2024 is where you see where he did get some pretty heavy usage. So where are you at with Jamal Haynes? Is that where you're looking at more like if you look at the 2024 film, you're liking him more based on that? Or what am I missing with Jamal Haynes?
I like the film in 2024 and 2025. One of the things that you're calling out is that he can't see over the offensive line, but like, don't care for a running back. I actually would prefer that the defense can't see you and they don't know where you are behind the line. So at 5'6", he's 195 pounds, which like, that's rocked up. 5'6", 195 is a big running back. There's some of these other running backs that are in like the 190, like I think Claiborne checked in at like 185 or 190, something like that. So they're very similar profiles, actually. I think they're both shifty and elusive. I think Jamal Haynes is going to be one of these guys that doesn't lose yards behind the line of scrimmage, runs with good pad level, can catch the ball really well out of the backfield. I'd put him up in that like maybe tier 2 of pass catchers among this rookie running back class. And I think that Haynes King, who's the running back over on Georgia Tech, blew up the combine as far as like, or sorry, did I call him a running back? He was the quarterback over at Georgia Tech. Blew up the combine. He ran like a 4.4, I believe. And they just handed him the, or not handed him the ball. I guess he just took more carries, which is weird to say. In 2024, he had 125 rushes, and then in 2025, he had 185 rushes. So he just stole some of that work. And I think
That's
if you
some
put,
classic Georgia Tech stuff right there, man. I kind of love that, honestly.
I mean, he could be one of these guys for you, Mike, that you're putting on your taxi of just like,
Ooh, I
you
need
know,
like a
he's a running
40-man
quarterback.
roster fantasy
Yeah.
team to go grab Haynes King. Also, like Jamal Haynes and Haynes King. Could you have a better option offense than having those two? That's
Two
awesome.
Haynes.
I love it. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. That's great.
I just think Haynes has the ability to be one of these like sleeper running backs that ends up on a team that knows how to use his skill set. He could be a third down back. And if he adds 10 to 15 pounds, I think we're looking at like a really scary running back, similar to some of these other small archetype guys where they might be short, but they're jacked and they can run through and run around guys. So I'm looking into Haynes as one of the guys that is like a sleeper. I'm probably taking him in like the third, fourth round, and hoping that he ends up in a situation where teams are going to be able to use him early in his career, or I'm going to taxi him and wait 2 to 3 years to see what happens. Another one of the guys I wanted to talk about is Kaelon Black out of Indiana. I did an exercise last week where I went through and just wrote down who are the fantasy relevant players that are having top 30 visits with NFL teams ahead of the NFL draft. And Kaelon Black just is on every team's board, essentially. He was one of the offensive players that had the most visits amongst the running backs. So he met with Carolina, Denver, Green Bay, Las Vegas, Miami, and the Jets. When we saw him at the Senior Bowl, he looked good. Didn't get to scout him ahead of time because he was a late addition. But he was one of the guys that was popping every day for me. And I was writing down in my notebook the different times that he would have good plays. A lot of it was like 5-6 yard gains. They don't tackle during the scrimmages. So like it's really tough to gauge how well they're doing. But then I went back and watched the tape at Indiana, and I thought that he was a good 1-2 punch with Hemby. He's got the speed to break long runs. He runs with good pad level. I think just like he's an all-around running back that does everything at like a good level. So I don't think he's elite in anything, but he's one of these guys that like, if we're thinking about Devin Neal, he could be a Devin Neal kind of player where, you know, he's not going to break the game for you and not be a high-end fantasy starter, but he, given the opportunity, could put up RB2 numbers for a fantasy team.
Yeah, I mean, and if Kurt Signetti likes you, I like you too, you know? So, and again, coming back to, we mentioned this on episode 1 about Juwan Jennings kind of coming up big in the Super Bowl, or even Isaiah Pacheco was kind of a similar case. And these players that have played in big moments, that really does matter. That really affects you mentally. And if you're able to get through moments like that, that is going to do a lot for you. All of these players are talented. We're talking about Division I athletes. And playing on these big stages really can change things for people mentally. And, you know, at this level, at the NFL level, a lot of how you gain your edge is going to be mental, not physical, because everybody's physically gifted. But who has that ability to kind of clutch up in the big moments? And so that's one thing where, like, I'm going to look at these Indiana running backs just for that reason. When we're late in drafts, or when I'm picking through free agents on my rebuilding teams, these are the type of players where it's like worth a shot for sure. And that's going to be the last rookie running back we talk about today. We got a couple of fun things to bring up here, but first I want to do one more plug. Please go onto the Optimus website or onto the Tools site and look at Cam's rookie write-ups under the 2026 draft prospects. You can use promo code ROOKIES to get a free week of our tools. And yeah, we really want to see you guys on there. We want to hear what you think. If you agree with us, if you disagree with us, again, come at us on Discord, on Blue Sky, here in the YouTube comments. Find a way to get a hold of us. Call my cell. Let me know where are we right, where are we wrong. And also on this Dynasty show, what do you guys want to hear us talk about? If there's something you want to hear differently, or if there's something we could be more in depth on that you want to know about, please get in the comments. Let us know. And then we do have a side bet coming up between me and Cam. But first, Cam, I want to kind of surprise you with something first. So I was talking with our good buddy Josh earlier today, and he asked me, this is really just a fun thing for me. So I want to kind of pay it forward to you. Give me 3 of your favorite NFL players from the 1990s to the early 2000s. I wanted to get candid with it.
Okay. I mean, number one is easily Ricky Williams.
Let's go.
He was my childhood hero. Went dressed up as Ricky Williams for Halloween one year. I had like a really cool throwback striped Miami Dolphins hat that we took like some braid like cutouts from and like put on the back of my hat. And I rocked like his jersey and went out there with some eye black under my eyes. And like, yeah, Ricky Williams I still have 2 of his Miami Dolphins jerseys in my closet that I break out frequently. So Ricky Williams, number 1. Number 2, Zach Thomas, former Miami Dolphin linebacker. Met Zach Thomas actually when he was a rookie and just like nobody knew about him at a card convention. So like another tie-in with what our buddy Josh does with all of these trading cards on his channel. But met him. I was just a wee little lad, probably wasn't taller than 2.5 feet. But I've got my picture with him. I've got a signed autograph of him that he got me at that card convention. And then number 3, we're just going to stay with the Miami Dolphins. I love Jason Taylor. And like every video game throughout time, like I'm drafting Jason Taylor and he's getting me like 25 sacks because I'm playing on pro. And I'm just rushing the quarterback with Jason Taylor and beating that defensive line. So, I mean, on top of him just being an incredible human being, best friends with Zach Thomas, I love Jason Taylor. Excited for his kid, Mason Taylor, that's in the league over on the Jets. So, like, quick fantasy plug, grab Mason Taylor. He has the skills to thrive over on the Jets. Yeah, there's nobody there. Like, it's Garrett Wilson, and then who's the second option for Brees? Like maybe it's Hall, but like outside of him, it's Mason Taylor and Garrett Wilson unless they add somebody in this draft. So
I think Zach Thomas is Mason Taylor's like uncle or godfather.
He's his godfather.
So it's like these guys are all connected somehow. Yeah, but Zach I do want to make sure everybody knows, Cam, you're no longer a Dolphins fan. Am I right?
Yes. No longer a Dolphins fan. I'm a Seahawks fan.
All right. Okay, Seahawks now. All right, and he's rocking the Raptors gear. So, who are they playing in the playoffs? Remind me. I'm not a big NBA guy.
Yeah, we've got the Cavs, which are a really scary team. They upgraded with James Harden on that roster, so they're rolling out like it's a silly lineup. And I just really hope Brandon Ingram gets going. But if not, Colin Murray-Boyles of the Raptors. I know we're probably like crossing sports and we're going to lose some of you. But Colin Murray-Boyles looks like a future defensive stalwart out there. And he's like picking Mitchell's pocket out at the perimeter. He's shutting down Jared Allen and Evan Mobley at the rim. I watched him play Victor Wembanyama back in February over in Toronto and just like was locking up Wemby. I think he held Wemby to like 2 points in the time he guarded him. So go Raptors. We're down 2 games. Hopefully we pull one of these out. But, you know, got to support my guys when they're in the playoffs.
Absolutely. It's a great time of year. We got the NBA playoffs. We got the hockey playoffs going on right now. So shout out to all my Central New York people. Go Sabres. Really pulling for them. Their first time there in like 14 years, I think. So that's really fun. And then, of course, we've got the NFL draft. That's what you're here for. That's what you're here to hear about. Very excited for the NFL draft coming up on Thursday. Again, get in our Discord. We'll be talking NFL draft all week long and afterwards. And then come and meet us on Mock Draft Mondays. We'll have our first post-NFL draft mock. So that will be a lot of fun. We'll be talking landing spots and all of that. Last thing to wrap things up before we see what we got wrong, Cam. We've got a side bet here. The stakes of this side bet are going to be a 1-minute plank, and this will be a fun one because we're going to know within the next week who won this bet. So I am taking Nick Singleton here. You're taking Jonah Coleman, and we are going to see which one of our players gets drafted first in this NFL draft. So I kind of think you have the edge here. I think the consensus is that Coleman is going before Nick Singleton. I'm just hoping that NFL teams see what I see and maybe go up and grab him early, or if there's some sort of news with Coleman where, you know, he does something or something, you know, he gets He stubs his toe the day before the draft or something like that. I don't want to wish anything too bad on the guy. I'm hoping for a long NFL career.
Plummet his draft stock. He stubbed his toe.
Jonah, yeah, exactly. The classic stubbed toe draft stocks tanker. So whichever one of us has those players get drafted first, the other one will have to do a 1-minute plank. We'll either post it here on YouTube or on Blue Sky or both. Just having a little bit of fun here. We're going to do some side bets with every episode. So again, thank you everybody who's stuck around. We're here at the end of our show, and we're going to bring our guy, Nate Polvo, on to let us know what did we get wrong.
You're on mute, buddy.
Nate.
I got music while we were recording the show. All right, guys. So you spelled Jeremiyah Love incorrectly on the show sheet. There is a Y after the I. I'm going to catch that grammar every time. It's in my nature. Cam, you called Jeremiyah Love Ashton Jaunty twice.
Oh.
2 times. Nick Singleton was at the Senior Bowl. Cam, you caught that. He was impressive. He did get hurt on Thursday and missed the game. Ryan Parrish actually works for Behind the Steel Curtain. Find him on Blue Sky at Ryan Parrish FB. That's 1R. .bluesky.social. Jamari Taylor, North Carolina Central is a school that he was at. His Instagram, for all those who want to know, _JTMoney4. So you can go check that out. It's actually Roschon, not Rasul. It's all right. We're all learning here. Yes, James Harden is freaking weird in Cleveland, man. I just wanted to bring that up. I don't like it. He's played for too many damn teams. And I don't know if I've told this story before, but I met Jason Taylor 2 years ago at the Senior Bowl. He was there for his son, Mason. I shook his hand, and you know what I said? You were my favorite contestant ever on Dancing with the Stars. Got a good laugh out of it. Fantastic show, guys. We'll see you next time.
All righty. Well, thank you, everybody. One more time, I'm going to plug Cam's rookie write-ups. He worked so hard on this stuff. You got to go check it out. And again, get in our DMs on Blue Sky or in the Discord. Or any other way you can find to get in touch with us. We really want to hear from you. We want to interact with you guys. That's what makes fantasy football great, is the community. And, you know, I'm just feeling so loved by the community right now. I'm really, really thankful. Cam, anything you want to say before we wrap things up?
Yeah, check out those write-ups. Like Mike said, I put a lot of work into them. I think we're at 34 players right now, and I'm close to like 15,000 words in total on these guys. Every single one of the guys is going to have like 300 to 400 words written up on them. The top end players, I'm not as wordy. I mean, some of them are very short, like under, 100 words. You guys probably know about them. I don't need to give you too much info. But then as we get deeper into these prospects, I'm getting very lengthy. Ted Hurst is 750 words, I think, because I really want to tell you, like, what are they good at? How do they succeed? What do I see on film as far as, like, are they beating man? Are they beating zone? How do they win? Are they winning with their feet? Are they winning through contact at the break point? Like, I give you guys so much information about these prospects, and more than just like I like them because they do X, Y, Z. I say, this is what they're good at. This is what they're not good at. This is maybe like a scheme fit for them that would make sense. For the quarterbacks, we're going through a lot of like, okay, what is their footwork in their pocket? What is their upper body mechanics? Like, really getting into the nitty gritty stuff. So if you're a football nerd, if you're one of these sickos like Mike, Nate, and I, and the rest of this Optimus team, like, this is good.
If you're following rookie running backs on Instagram to get an edge,
yes.
come
if you're
talk
following
to us.
all of the rookie running backs and knowing about their puppies, like, you probably are going to enjoy these write-ups.
Absolutely. All right. Well, for Cam White, I'm Mike Videla. You're listening to episode 2 of the Optimus Fantasy Football Dynasty Show. Again, thank you all so much. We'll talk to you guys after the NFL draft. Thank you very much, and take care.